Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of E-Coffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's show, I have with me the president of Encite Branding, Marketing, and Creative, Adam O'Leary. With 15 years of experience in the marketing profession, he has built Encite into an award-winning marketing agency with a team of professionals who work collaboratively with clients to help build their businesses through effective branding and marketing strategies. Today, Adam will share his insights and expertise on the marketing industry, client relationships, and the future of marketing. Adam, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Matt, thanks for having me. I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah, right on. Hey, so Adam, how would your university professors describe you as a student?
Mediocre. I think that right out of the bat, I was just a mediocre marketing student in the business college. I don't know that I really found my passion while I was in college. I kind of wanted to stay under the radar, not rock the boat, not necessarily be that leader in college, which is funny. It's changed 100% for me, 180 degrees.
Absolutely. Because you're now leading an agency. What drew you to go into marketing in school, in university, post-secondary?
I really like the fact that it's almost storytelling, right? You're telling the story of a brand, a product, a service, a person, whatever that is. And it has the storytelling element to it, but it's also putting some things in front of people that, maybe would really benefit from it. I think that there's a lot of marketers that are just trying to get, at times you're just trying to get awareness, and you do some things that are less than, I guess, nice, I suppose, just to get out there. But I always thought it could be really nice to take a business and take their product and put it in front of customers that would really benefit from whatever it is that they're doing. It's just a matter of getting it to them. So it really inspired me.
All right on. With that being said, what are some of the biggest mistakes marketers making then?
I think the biggest, especially on client side, we work from the businesses that we work with, is that I think today's day and age is so very much about action or tactics, that there is less strategy going into those tactics. Everybody's really excited about, hey, let's get a Facebook page and we get a website up and we get this message out there and we start this campaign. And then they come to figure out we're not selling anything. It didn't work. Number one, that's part of marketing, right? Part of marketing is hypothesis and revision. But then they come to find out, we've been targeting the wrong people all along. We've been targeting the wrong segment all along. And it's like that strategy is so key to being successful. So you either do it up front and you do that work up front, or you learn from it during your marketing. But when you learn from your marketing, you're spending hard dollars.
You're spending dollars.
Money. Right? So it's a hard lesson, I think. And I think that's one of the things that we always talk about is making sure a brand strategy is in place. And part of that brand strategy is identifying very specifically who that audience is and how you're trying to get to them.
Yeah, it's so crucial, isn't it? Like, one of my indirect mentors, who probably doesn't know I exist, but that's okay, is Dan Kennedy. And in his book, The Ultimate Marketing Plan, he talks about the 3 M's of marketing, that you need to have: the market, message, and medium. And it seems that everybody wants to just jump right to medium for figuring out who their market is and what their message is to that market.
Yeah.
And then taking those 2 things. And that's where people get. But do you think that in your experience, like, that sometimes clients have a little bit of ownership to take in that regard of pushing marketing agencies to just get me the leads? Like, I worked for a car dealership.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It's a large OEM that I can mention, but I won't, because I don't want to get sued, that didn't even know who their buyer personas were on a vehicle by vehicle basis. And I was trying to thumb through the CRM to find out, because they were in business for 10 years. I could have gone through and just pulled out all of the data of just female buyers for a particular model and done a scope persona on who those people were, and so on and so forth. They didn't even have that data. So it's so hard to figure out how to write ads. Just give me leads. Just get face the thing you're talking about, pushing for that, not allowing me to slow things down and actually find out who the market was, create the messages, then do the. Now, I still had success doing that because things I did. But the point being, again, do you think that clients are sometimes have a hand in that because they're rushing to get business?
Yeah, 100%. And I know we work with what we call mid-market small business to medium-sized businesses. So we typically work with small businesses that are established. They have a revenue stream and they have a product and they're out there and that kind of thing. But yes, I find that very common, that they sometimes they don't care how you get there, or they don't want to know the details. They just want the results. But the problem is, number one, I'm happy. We're happy to jump into that, and we want to jump into that. We're going to be more successful that way. Not to say that we can't be successful the other way, but look, it's going to take more time. It's going to take more money, and then the owners and principals don't like that either. But the problem is, we always try to discuss what all those things are from a brand strategy standpoint, and if they don't have them, let's explore them. But then they come back to say they have all kinds of different things. We don't have time. We don't have budget. Is a big one. It's like I don't have the money to do that.
Time and budget.
But we're trying to be we're just trying to be as candid with them as possible. Say I'm going to guarantee you're going to spend the money either way. We either spend it up front and we do that research and we do all of that work, or we're going to spend it in wasted ad costs.
And you're going to end up firing me.
Yeah,
and blame it on me.
Yep. That's exactly the challenge that we have. We're to that point and there's times where we've talked with clients where we haven't brought them on. I was like, we're getting set up for failure here because these pieces aren't in place. Yeah. And from our experience, if we don't have these pieces in place, it's not going to work. Yeah. Sometimes they enjoy the candidness. Sometimes they're not all that entirely happy, but I don't know any marketer that your job is 100% harder when you don't have those things in place, and you have much more propensity to fail. Absolutely.
It's why I see a lot of rise in agencies going the pay-per-lead route and developing their own brand assets to do that work, and then sell the leads to the client. Do you think that's a future trend that's going to happen?
Yeah. I think we're, as a marketing agency, our new business development is a pretty well thought out, strategic, and tactically integrated machine.
Yeah.
I think that in some particular industries, creating those leads themselves for clients could work. Oh, I guess getting back to what I was saying is like our leads is a machine, but we're deep into that marketing agency. We can speak to that super intelligently. We can talk on all aspects of branding, marketing, and creative. But if I started getting into the architecture space or a SaaS space for healthcare insurance, there is an additional sales channel in there that we couldn't speak to intelligently. But could we find those leads? Yeah. And I think we put that in front of them? So I think there's a lot of things that are changing and a lot of things are evolving. The marketing space has always evolved and always changed. Yeah. To change to something like that, I think it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you discover, like you said that in university you were mediocre, and that's a pretty candid, humbling thing to say, because not a lot of people would say that about themselves. How did you find your passion for marketing? What moment was it that, could you tell me the story behind that?
Yeah. So as soon as I got out of college, I went into a telesales position. So this is early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And my job was to dial numbers, smiling and dialing, making phone calls, inside sales. I got it. I didn't like it. I hated it.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. And there's some, like you were talking about earlier, I think there's some people that are born for certain auto sales and some people that aren't. Yeah. There's some people that are born for that position, and that was never my thing. So I knew that I had to get out of that. And I knew I had, then I dabbled in a little bit of outside sales. Still wasn't my thing. It was, I just felt I didn't want to, I'm not a pushy kind of really that type of attitude, I suppose. So I knew that what I didn't want to do, but then I ended up being recruited by a consultant at my job. He was an outside consultant, but he was a partner in a small little agency here in Colorado. And so I started working for them, and that was the moment of working for them that I knew that kind of the way they approached it was value add, benefits, and really helping businesses, right? And then they had that creative point, and I knew right then and there this when I wanted to be in the agency space. And after that, I went to work on a client side and was the VP of marketing on the client side for a banking software for county jails. Go figure.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, pretty interesting space. But so that they created a banking software for inmates to buy commissary items, like anything that the jail doesn't provide. You buy candy bars and chips and all that kind of stuff. And they had a banking software that tracks their bank accounts, and people could put money on their bank accounts. And Then they fulfilled those commissary orders and delivered them to the jails. So go figure how I stumbled into that,
really.
right?
Yeah. That's a unique business model for sure.
Yep.
Probably not a lot of competition either, because I don't know if a lot of people want to do that. And once you get integrated into the system, probably the attrition rate's probably pretty low because, you know, you're already there. It's making the switch is probably difficult for.
Yeah. It was all RFP stuff. So it's like government contracts. Government contracts, RFPs, 10-year contracts, that kind of thing once you're in.
Yeah. Wow. Smart.
But that was when it changed. And I knew what I always wanted to do the agency thing. And I was doing a little bit of that creative, a little bit of that messaging and marketing within that space. But then I just felt so cramped I'm fit into one small little box: commissary, banking, inmate software. It's just, wow, the creativeness was constraining. Then I got laid off from that job. When I got laid off, that's when I started the business. So I decided to kind of go forward.
I was going to ask you what inspired you to start the agency. So it was the layoff?
Yep.
Or they just laid off? What happened? Was that in 2008 when the recession happened? Great Recession?
So technically, I had started the business 3 years earlier while I was working on that client side. And I had a buddy who owned a painting company, you know, the little pub downtown.
Okay.
You do little things here and there. You do like posters for the bands that are coming in for the weekend, or you did a poster for them to hang some marketing material on doors and that kind of thing. But I started in 2005, but that was always just extra income, make a few extra bucks here and there. But 2008, when the Great Recession happened, I was called into the office with the HR director and the president. And I said, I knew as soon as I walked in the room, I was like, "That's here we go." And then the job market was just non-existent. So I said, let's go full time with this. Let's see what happens. And
the rest is history.
The rest is history. Started off as a one-man shop. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you took a situation that was not good, to say the least, and turned it into, if they'd never let you go, you maybe would never have started your own, put up your own shingle.
Yeah. And that was the catalyst. And I just needed the push, just needed that small push. Okay. And after like your initial shock, right? And freak out, you start to think, okay, look, I'm a smart enough person. I've got some marketing skills. I'm not going to starve. I'm not going to, I may be out of work for a while or whatever, but I will get through it. Right. And so after that, I was like, wait a minute, we could do even better than that. Let's not just get a job to survive. Let's start doing some cool stuff and fun stuff and maybe doing it on your own. I think that was the push. And if that didn't happen, I don't think it would have happened.
How did you, so you got your first clients as a result of friends and family?
Yep.
And how did you expand beyond that?
You know what? Referrals. And I just started hustling. At the time, wasn't married, no kids. It was just me. Okay. I lived in a small apartment. This is like the entrepreneur's journey that everybody talks about, right? I started in a garage. I started in an apartment. I remember my mortgage for this little condo that I bought was like $400 a month, $450 with my mortgage. So it was nothing. And,
not very much.
Super cheap. But I just started hustling. I was going to get involved in volunteer work, business organizations.
Okay, tell me about that for a minute, though. The volunteer work. What kind of volunteer opportunities did you look for? Maybe that's a pretty good idea to get a portfolio and to get your people say, who designed that?
Yep, exactly what I did. So I did some things.
Yeah,
it was for Alumni Association of the school. I went to Colorado State, and so it was Alumni Association, and we started volunteering there. And then I started doing some more charity stuff. So I joined the local chapter of American Cancer Society.
So did you approach them to be on the board or something, or how did you?
Yep, they just had opportunities to plan and be on the board, and that's how I started just meeting people. And then you just started meeting people, shaking hands. But it was super exhausting because I was at a meeting or a happy hour, or it was probably 4 to 5 times a week. I was out just hustling, just shaking hands, getting people to know me. And my personality was never like this really forward salesperson. I wanted to build relationships organically, authentically, and have that when people come around, then, hey, let's have that talk. And that's how I still approach it a little bit. It's like we try to be our authentic selves, right?
Yeah.
Whether than,
you have to.
Yeah. Rather than you think that trying to hard sell somebody into something. That just never was my personality. So,
you know what? I don't think you need to be. And I read the book by Blair Singer called Sales Dogs. I'm not sure if you've heard of that book or not, but it's a phenomenal book. And he talks about the different types of dogs that there are. And I'm trying to Google it right now. And one of them was a golden retriever, which was a service-based salesperson. That they will do everything to make you happy to be of service. And the other is a bloodhound. And I can't remember what they all are. But one of them is the pit bull. And he says sometimes he talks about the pit bull being the stereotypical car salesperson. And he says, you don't need to be that. Like, no, the pit bull just burns through people and yada, yada. Everybody thinks it's amazing how everybody thinks that's what sales is about. And I don't think that's true. Now, he did say something. You do need to be a pit bull at times when you're going to close the sale. For instance, when I was selling cars, I knew when I had to be a pit bull, but I still could be a nice pit bull. But it's when we were negotiating for the price of the car and the terms of the purchase. That's when I had to be a pit bull and really go for the sale. So when I was standing up, I was their friend. When I was sitting down, I was in business as a pit bull. Now, it doesn't mean I was rude. I was just asking for the sale. So I kind of think it's,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think relationship sales is all about relationships. I don't think people want to do business with someone they don't like or don't respect or don't have a relationship with. So you said it got pretty scary, pretty hectic. Was it worth it though? Did you have to at some point pivot and say this isn't working, or did it end up working and lead to any business?
Yeah, that's how I started. That's how I started to do. It started very gradual in little small projects for entrepreneurs or people that needed a logo or somebody. And so after that, I started telling myself, I was like, I need to have some kind of working knowledge of design. I never had a working knowledge of Photoshop and Illustrator. So I went back to school at night, started going to classes and not necessarily to be like, I mean, I did do some of that, right? Like in the beginning, I did do some of that design work, but then you come to the understanding is like, I can't be jack of all trades because I'm going to be the master of none.
Yeah.
I can do certain things, but what I needed when in the sales process was I need to have a working knowledge of how it works. If somebody's asking me to do this, I can speak intelligently on, I know how the process works. And so I did do that. And I started building out our team and started working with getting our creative director, who he had a lot of experience, decades of experience working at branding companies and design and branding and that kind of stuff. So like you were saying earlier, I need to find somebody smarter than me or better than me at that particular thing. Otherwise I'm going to be very mediocre in a lot of little things, right? Like I can be very mediocre, but it's wanted to be good. So you just eventually started building out the team. You started going away from that market of kind of entrepreneurs, really small business, startup, small business kind of thing, and moving into bigger companies that have bigger budgets, that have more resources to put behind it, because I'm building out our team as well, that have all those people that have those specific skills. Because otherwise, I can mess around with a WordPress website too, but is it the best WordPress website? My team that has the skills, one's going to make it that really good website.
How did you know when to first hire that person and bring them on?
Yeah, it was a hard transition. I don't know if it was a moment, like a moment of clarity or something, but I knew at some point, I don't know the exact time, but I remember getting to the point to where looking at some of the things that I was putting together and just looking at it going, I was like, this isn't good enough. It's not, I have to have somebody that is an expert in that skill set. And it was, I don't know if it was like I said, like a moment of clarity or whatever. And I don't know the exact moment, but I remember starting to think that I was like, we have to do these kinds of things. And then you started doing those things. Look, I don't have the time to do all of it. I don't have the time to work on new business development, build relationships, processes, company. I need to get what do they say? Get out of running.
Instead of working in your business, start working on your business.
Working on your business and then working on your business. And that's where we're still transitioning on some of that. But at the same time, I'm definitely out of the production portion of it.
Yeah. So it's hard because, like, I know from running an agency that how do you figure out? I know one agency who grew himself broke. He grew the agency so big, and he didn't read the book Profit First, and I can't remember who wrote it, and he didn't know what his margins were, and so on and so forth. And he just kept on bringing client after client after client, and he was making no money, and eventually had to shut it down. And how did you know, like, for instance, to be able to have the capital to afford that person and to keep it go? Like, I've talked to lots of agency owners, entrepreneurs, and keep it running in the sense of, okay, I got to sell this much in order to make this amount of money in order to pay this person's paycheck. And I got to make a paycheck. That's the business side of things that's hard to figure out for a lot of people. Can you share any insights of how you figured some of that stuff out for those who may be listening?
Yeah, I think that I think I learned early on from undergrad that those accounting processes and profit margins are key, right? So I started tracking that early on of exactly what we were making, charging, profit, all of these different things. And I was at the beginning, I was tracking it in an Excel spreadsheet, like just some kind of ridiculous like spread kind of thing and so we've continued that strategy on. Obviously, we've evolved and gotten a lot more sophisticated with that, with all of the things that are out there. But now we definitely put an emphasis on that because that's key. It is great that we continue to bring business in, but we all now have, at some point, we have a pretty good idea of from a creative standpoint, any creative project that comes on board, how long it's going to take us to do that creative project, how much that's going to cost us. And we turn business away because it's just not profitable. And
what formula do you use? It's fascinating to me because I know you bring on a project. Let's say someone is selling hemp-made products. They're not like products made from hemp, like clothing and textiles, and they want you to build an e-commerce site. And we have to go and we have to quote them, and we have to think in our minds. Stephen Covey said, "Begin with the end in mind." And figure out, okay, how long is this going to take? What do they have? What do they need? And it's almost like we're manufacturing and selling at the same time. That's one of the biggest struggles I find in running a marketing agency and figuring out what is the cost per action. Because getting it down to a cost per action based off the SOPs. It's not easy to do.
Like, it's not easy. But we put together like a process, we start to ask these questions of clients. For your example, from a website, an e-commerce website, how many products are there? What's the entire functionality? Go through all those kinds of checklist pieces to say, okay, and then we know that for each product page that we develop, it's going to take X amount of time. You have 100 SKUs and 100 products. It's going to, and then you try to build in, you just build in some, I guess, some fluff there.
Yes, of course you do.
Movement room, because
you have to.
There's always the unthought of things that come up, the unforeseen.
Absolutely. And then the buffer money.
But then we have to tell, again, we're pretty candid with the clients too. Say, look, if we get to this point and we step back, that cost, we're doing it very linearly. Here's what we look like from a structure standpoint from a website. Here's functionality. If we get down the road here, then all of a sudden you have to add another functionality piece, or you just decided you expanded your product line into 50 more SKUs. Guess what? That price moves. And that's it's just you have to be super candid with them, super upfront about them, super transparent about it. But it's never
like
easy.
That. No, they don't like it, do they?
No, and it's never easy. But you always try to say, again, we're trying to have authentic relationships and candid relationships. But at the same time, it's look, I'm still a business too. We're still trying to make money too. But and then we're trying to collaborate. But at the same time,
to you, but we need to make money.
Yeah, exactly. We've had to turn away business from time to time. We just did one, I think it was a week and a half ago. Their budget just wasn't there, and I wanted to build that relationship and maybe build that out. But hey, I'm losing my pants on this kind of thing.
I'm not working for free. It's not gonna happen. It's interesting. Good design, good development, good functionality, good marketing is costly. It costs money.
And I think that's the problem, is the perception nowadays is marketing is so easy and it doesn't cost me anything. And hey, I can go on to Squarespace and for $50 a month, I could create a website and I can click and drag it, or I can go to Facebook, make a business Facebook page, and I can start It's not the reality. So
no, it's not. In fact, many clients end up trying to do that and then realize how hard it is, and then come to you, and then they don't have any money. There's certain businesses they don't have money. You need to figure it out yourself. Then you need to go on LinkedIn Learning.
But I also thought that I think that the barrier to entry to actually starting a business today is so much easier.
Low.
Yeah,
The
so
barrier to
low,
entry is so
right?
low. It
Yeah.
is.
So I can register with, I don't know how it works
An
in Canada, but
LLC.
you can
Yeah,
register with the
it's not hard.
Secretary of State. That costs you $10. Now you have a company. You can put a website up. You don't have a physical store. You can put an ad in it. Back in the day, you most likely had to have an office. You had to have a warehouse. You had to have products. You had to have salespeople, someplace to go. So I think that perception that it's so easy is detrimental to a lot of businesses because
it's not. So how do you communicate that value and positioning yourself that way? Is it based on your portfolio? Like, how do you overcome those challenges of people thinking that what we do is not hard, shouldn't be as expensive or shouldn't cost as much money as maybe we're pitching? What are some of the things you say to overcome those hurdles?
You mentioned portfolios, right? Like our portfolios, testimonials, referrals and kind of stuff from current clients. But there is again, the candidness and the openness and the transparency of, hey, this is how we operate. This is our experiences. That kind of comes into our pitch, if you will, as well. But look at some of these well-known companies that we work for, or somebody in your state we've worked for, and look at all the things that we've produced to get there. At any point, any smart, seasoned kind of business professional, I think, will know that. And I think that there was a marketed shift from our ideal client profile, like the psychographics is somebody that has already gotten that, that we moved away from trying to explain that to somebody, explain our value to the people that know hiring a professional, somebody who has a lot of experience in this space is to my benefit. I'm going to have to do that. So we've moved away from that shift of trying to have that conversation because we just found that it's a losing conversation. If somebody has the perception that it's so easy, me trying to convince them that it's not I don't know that it's worth my time because I'm not
worth trying to.
Yeah. At some point they're going to realize. Some point they're going to realize and be like, hey, this is a lot harder than I thought, which is where we put like leads like that into our A, B, and C kind of buckets.
Like
we're still keeping in contact with them because there's so many times they come back and be like, hey, I tried that and it didn't work. Can we do it?
And what do you think are some of the most significant opportunities and challenges facing the marketing industry right now? And how do you see Encite evolving to meet these changes?
A good one that's been in the news quite a bit is AI, right?
Yeah, ChatGPT.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something that I think that we have to address, not only from the ChatGPT side, but also like some of the artwork and creative side. But that's part of marketing's always evolved, right? You told somebody in the 50s, Mad Men days, that you'd have computer design programs on computers and you can mock up things in a matter of hours instead of matters of days, they would be super concerned, right? But it evolves, right? I think so. How do we use some of those things to our advantages? How do we integrate them into our processes? Maybe something like, I don't know, that is where it is right now that it would work completely on its own. But how do we integrate that into some of the stuff that we do and use that to our advantage? How do we integrate some of that artwork piece to our advantage? So I think that is definitely a challenge. And I think that there's a challenge in the design world of some of these unlimited kind of design subscriptions for people. Say, hey, I'll do as much graphic design you want for $100 a month or whatever it is. I think that's a challenge. But I think that for us, that's something that people that want that kind of product, that's not our target market. Yeah, it's not our target market. And that may be that one person that, is starting out of their basement and they wanted to start something, they just have a few bucks. And that's a great start for them. But for us, that's not how I feel you're going to be successful if you don't have something that's unique and custom.
Yeah. And I think there will be people out there. I think as agencies and marketers, we can leverage those tools. I was talking to someone, I was reading a story about Coder, and the vast majority of coders who are using ChatGPT and AI to write code are seasoned coders and programmers and software engineers, because it helps them speed up the output and they're easily able to spot mistakes. Whereas a junior coder can't necessarily, can't necessarily spot those mistakes or find those things or know how to leverage it as much because they don't understand code as much. And
right.
I think it's the same thing for, I mean, I don't know how to use ChatGPT to launch software code. I have no idea. And yet I know how to use it to write copy, and I know how to use it to write damn good copy. But that's because I've spent a portion of my life learning about sales copy, because Bill Glazer, who is Dan Kay's partner, said the number one skill that every entrepreneur, small business owner, or business owner should learn is copywriting. Even if you're not going to write it, you should learn how to identify good copy from bad copy. So I spent time learning copy, and I know how to use it, good copy. So I think maybe copywriters might be in a little bit of trouble, but here's the thing. What I'm trying to get at, a good copywriter, just like I talked about that seasoned programmer, can use it to output more copy than he knows how to do. What he can do with. Like, I read it. I wish I had recorded the story, but there's a guy who's making $1 million a month. He's using copy.ai to write sales letters for people. And he started doing it. Then he went and found 7 of his friends who don't even know how to write copy. And he taught them how to do it using copy.ai and just replicated it himself. Now, I don't know if that's a long-term successful business because it's people-based and resource-based and so on and so forth. But if you want to make some money, sure, it's pretty smart. But like I said, it's the tool. It's the point I'm trying to get at, Adam, is it's a tool. Just like a mechanic knows how to use a hammer but you give him a toolbox, he knows what to do with it. I have no idea. And that's the same thing I think for these tools. If you're a crappy marketer, you're still going to be a crappy marketer if you have AI or not. You're still going to be a crappy marketer because you can't tell the difference between good marketing and bad marketing, or good copy and bad copy, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. You think I'm out to lunch, or what are your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree. I think it's, again, like I said, like marketing, any industry is going to evolve to get better, to uncover new technologies, to cover under, for us, is it new marketing channels? What is that? You knew 30 years ago, who knew Facebook is going to be an Instagram or a huge marketing channel for us? And who knew that, like, the yellow pages are basically non-existent? No, like, that was in Mad Men times. That was a thing. You got a business, you got an office, you put an ad in the yellow pages. Yeah. And then you
or in the newspaper.
The newspaper, So see, there you go. There's another one. So it's all going to evolve, right? But what's next? We just don't know what's next. I think that some industries, copywriters, they may be in trouble, and that may go away, not be as big of an industry for people. But what's next? Are those people to go start the next Facebook or start the next whatever?
Use your copywriting skills to start a business, like a business that's not based on copywriting, but use your copywriting skills to start the next big plumbing company. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that's
but you never know. But I guess that doesn't comfort a lot of copywriters now, right?
No.
In the long term, though, hey, you use the word pivot. What are you going to pivot and to the next thing, and use those skills and move into something else, and go disrupt we were talking about the other day to my wife, is let's go disrupt the car rental industry, because that is always like a headache, frustration.
Yeah, absolutely. And use ChatGPT to help you come up with ideas to disrupt some of those industries. That's what I've done, by the way. I've gotten some pretty seriously cool business ideas from telling it what I want to do is, whoa, that's a cool brand name. Is the domain name available? Yeah, boom, snatch, got it. Social media handles available? Yes, boom, bang, got them. What advice would you give to someone just starting out in the marketing profession? And what are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned in your career?
I think you would surround yourself with people that are smarter and better than you.
There you go.
Go up a pay grade. Those kind of, not only from a mentorship standpoint, from just a networking portion of that. The more people you know that are decision makers, that know more than you, that can teach you more, the more your career's going to kind of skyrocket, or you're going to uncover something else that you want to do. So if you're in the marketing profession, I definitely would go above your pay grade. And everybody told me that in college, to go to your network, but it's really an awkward thing, right? You go to an event and you don't know anybody and you don't know what to say, and it's really kind of weird. But there's other ways to do that. Join other organizations.
That's so smart.
Join organizations that you're still organically getting to know people. You're not like forced, or you have an activity, or it's a sports club or whatever that is, but just make sure identify like that the people within that club or in that organization are people that I want to know. So let's go do that.
Yeah, so absolutely. Hey, it's been fascinating talking to you today. I'm so glad you came on the show. What's one big takeaway you want listeners to get from this episode?
I think that we talked a little bit about it, came out organically, but I think that there's always a way to pivot. I think there's always a way to take what's happened, what you've learned, what you didn't learn, how you failed, and turn that around into it's pretty cliche, any kind of learning opportunity. But if you take that and know that, hey, this may have been not what I wanted it to happen, but if I can turn it this way, it identified a different path. It's always a positive thing. So keep focused on the positive.
Absolutely. Hey, how can our audience connect with you online if they choose to do so?
You can always check us out on our website at inciteinternational.com. And then all our social handles are Encite BMC on all the major socials. But you can always look me up on LinkedIn, Adam O'Leary, based out of Denver, Colorado. I'm always there too. You can just Google me. Okay.
Make sure to put that information in the show notes. Hey, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I hope to have you back again.
Matt, I appreciate the time. Thanks very much. I enjoyed it.
Right on.